Hi, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be very different to any other video I've ever made. So I decided to speak about money. This isn't something that I find to be a super easy topic for me to speak about. I don't know, it just makes me feel uncomfortable, but we're gonna do it. So I thought it would be interesting to speak about how can I say this? Use my paycheck, basically, in a nutshell. What do I do with it? How do I split between my expenses and savings and all those kind of things? And just how I manage my paycheck, basically. So yeah, that is what this video is all about. So I thought we could start by just speaking about my income. I only have one income stream. I don't have many, a lot of, I don't know, bloggers, vloggers, YouTubers, I don't even know what you want to call it, influencer-y people. I don't have all those streams of income. I have one salary, one pay slip, that's it. So it's pretty easy to kind of keep track of what's coming in, obviously, and what's going out, just because there's only one stream of income. I think I can imagine it being a little bit more admin intensive when you have multiple streams of income that comes in at different times of the month. So in that regard, I guess I'm lucky from an administrative point of view. Anyway, so the first thing that I want to touch on is that I'm going to show you later on my template, how I split my paycheck out, making sure everything goes into the correct spaces, columns, all of that stuff. Moving on to how I actually started. I used to never track my expenses. I mean, I paid my bills, debit orders went off, all that kind of stuff, but I never really, once the debit orders went off, it was cool, I don't really know how much I'm spending on eating out, coffees, clothes, going out, none of that stuff. And I had this famous line, and I'm sure other people have it too, where you come at the middle of the month and you're like, where did all my money go? Right? Classic. So that happened too many times, and I just decided that I cannot. The one moment which I clearly remember being this is it, was I started kind of realizing that I spent way too much money on buying data. So I had a prepaid phone and I would buy data. So I think it was I don't even know if it was 100 Rand for a gig at a point or whatever, if you buy prepaid. And then I was I wonder how much I spend on data in a month. And I kid you not, it went well over 1,000 Rand that month of buying little bit here, little bit here. And I was I'm sure there are deals that I can get, cell phone data packages that gives me way more data for obviously less. So that was the initial I'm not keeping track and I'm wasting money. So then I ended up getting this really cool deal for 4 times the amount of data, or not 4 times, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of data for a fraction of the price. So that was my first initial wake up call. But what I did was I printed, and I think that was the last time I ever printed a piece of paper, but I printed my bank statements and I took all the color cool highlighters, and I started highlighting things that is debit orders versus unnecessary expenses, like in lunchtime walking to the shop, buying this chocolate, a packet of chips, cool drink, whatever, buying unnecessary data, all the coffees that I buy in a month, all that stuff. And that was the best way that I could like figure out how much I'm wasting away, which I like never gave any thought to, but it was quite the reality seeing it actually on paper and like, you know, calculating those amounts. So that was the way I like realized I don't need to waste away so much money. So from there on out, I had a template, and the templates changed over the years because my needs change, my income range changes, so many things, priorities change. You want to save for something, so you need to save this much, but then, you know, later on you might save for something else and you need to save more, whatever the case may be. Or your expenses get more just because you buy a car, so you now have that payment, or whatever the case may be. So the template has changed over the years, and it will, I think, continue to change, but for now I'm happy with where I'm at. But yeah, that's like how I started. And I know there's like a lot of apps that you can like track your money, and a lot of banking apps, you know, like kind of divide your expenses and debit orders and whatever into like categories. But for me, I find the more like apps I use, the less I use it. Like, I like to keep it plain and simple, and for me, plain Excel sheet with a little template on works better. I sync it with my phone and my MacBook, so I either work on here and it syncs to my phone, or I just quickly put it in on my phone and it syncs to my laptop. It's easy enough. Okay, so let's jump into the template. Okay, so this is the sheet. I'm just gonna run like through what everything like means and like how we split out things. So this is mine. This is not Jason's, but he has his own stuff. But this is kind of how I split up my paycheck. So first up, obviously my income is my salary, one paycheck in a month. If I had additional income streams, I would add additional rows here, and obviously that will add to adding up all those amounts. But for now, one. Then moving on, I have some fixed expenses, and then I have variable expenses. I have savings, I have church, and then we have things left. So this is just kind of like the, you know, like the basic stuff: car, insurance, bond, gap cover. Gap cover is so expensive. I have stuff like Spotify, phone bill, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and website hosting. Those things are pretty small. I have the bigger expenses up here, and then I have like the smaller ones at the bottom. And those are things that stay the same throughout the year. They don't really vary. So I put all of those in there. Then if we move down, I have the variable expenses like gas, and that has gone up in price like dramatically. So that's definitely a variable. So I'll add that in. I kind of like ballpark figure, like it's not necessarily accurate, just because I do obviously sometimes drive more in this month than I will do next month. So I put like a good average amount. Usually I will over budget a little bit just so I don't have any surprises. And then groceries. So this is an interesting one, and if you've watched any of my other grocery haul videos, I've explained this a little bit, but we have a very tight budget in terms of groceries, as well as going out and coffee shops. So for those three things, I'm pretty strict with that, just because I don't feel like I should spend or waste money in that area. So we go to the shops on a weekly basis, on a Saturday or a Sunday. We don't do monthly groceries anymore because we find that things anyway don't last. So you're going to end up going somewhere in the month, and then you're going to start not keeping track of your budget. That like always happens. So going weekly, you get the thrill of going to the shop and being able to get new things for the next week. So there's some element of excitement to that, at least for us. And I can have fresh veggies and fruits and like bread for every week. So nothing goes off, nothing goes to waste, all that kind of stuff. So we have a budget per week. Well, we know what our monthly spend, how much we want to spend in a month for groceries, going out and like coffee stuff or like that kind of things. And then we divide it in the amount of weeks that there's for the month, and that's what our weekly budget is. So we have very small budgets. We allocated the minimum towards these three things really, just because at least for this period that we're in right now, we do not want to spend an excessive amount of money on those things. We still go out, we still go have coffee, you know, we still buy nice groceries, but just more consciously. We won't just get coffee randomly. We'll, you know, think about it. Is it a nice outing? You know, all those kind of things. Oh, that's so thirsty. Anyway, so that's that. Then I have personal spending, and that is more like those are the random things that if I need some toiletries for myself, or if I have something like a clothing piece or some makeup or something like that that I need for the month. And obviously that doesn't happen every month. So sometimes there is money that goes towards that, but sometimes there are months that I don't need any makeup, not buy any clothes, none of that kind of stuff. So then I don't really spend on that. So that's that. And then moving on to the next section is my savings. Saving goals change. I would say year on year we might have different goals, but for now this is what I'm doing right now. Then I tithe 10% to the church, so that will go in there every month. And then if there's anything left, it will be in there. So that's kind of just how I break it down. I make sure that all my debit orders and any expenses are covered. For the grocery going out coffee shop bill, I transfer that money to Jason's separate account. He also transfers money to that account, and that's the only money that is in that specific account. So it's very easy to keep track of how we're tracking for the month, because that's the only amount that sits in there. So that's really nice. That goes separate. So my salary comes into one account, and then I transfer wherever my debit order would come off of, and also the money for him for grocery going out and that. I do all my debit orders, all my payments, everything kind of as soon as the money comes in. I like to move and pay everything as far as I can, just because then at least, you know, it's a pretty clear picture of what is left. And if there's something funny going on, or if it's, you know, there's maybe an extra expense, you know, I know going into the new month what that looks like, and that I have more or less left over, and if I need to move money around or something like that. So that's basically it. Is super simple breakdown of how I put it in. And if I do add expenses to the list, I will just add them in here as well. So that's basically it from like a template perspective. So yeah, that's basically it from like a template perspective and a preparation for like payday. That's kind of what I do, and I feel it helps a lot to, prior to payday, reflect on the previous month, and if you went over your budget, were you under budget, and like why. I feel like just answering those questions just by yourself makes a big difference in going into the new month. I feel I always reflect on the previous month, because it brings a little bit more clarity going into the new month and where I should do things a little bit differently, or evaluate some new thing that I was trying. Does it work? Does it not work? That kind of thing. So, for instance, did we go over our food budget last month? If we did, why did we do that? Should we adjust our food budget going forward? Is it unrealistic, or were we just a little bit negligent? Like, like what are the reasons that we would go over our budget? Or why do we have money left? Should we lower our budget? Does that mean we get to save a little bit more money? Like all those kind of things. We just like to reflect on that, like the day prior to payday, and then prep for payday, and then when payday hits, you're prepared and you know what is going for what and what the month ahead is going to look like. So anyway, that's basically in a nutshell what I do in terms of my paycheck. Again, this differs, from time to time. Priorities change. Your income might change, all those kind of things. So there's like a lot of things, and also like what we want and what we do works for us, but I bet you it's not going to work for the next person. But I think putting it on paper and seeing it makes a big difference. That's the one thing, because it's like out of sight, out of mind. If I'm just swiping my card away and not really looking at my statements, transactions, nothing on a paper, no calculations, it's very, very easy to get lost in that and to not keep track. And it's small amounts. It's always small amounts. It's the paying for parking, all of that kind of things that adds up. So from that perspective, I feel like writing it down and just putting it, 10 minutes or half an hour out once a month to like reflect and to make sure everything is going where it should go, and you know exactly how you're tracking, and having clear goals is like key, especially as a reminder like mid-month. I feel going in mid-month and just checking, is everything still good? Am I still tracking fine? It's such a good reminder of what your goal was in the beginning of the month, and like, am I on track in trying to meet that goal? And if not, what's happening? Should I change? What should I do? So yeah, that was just a little bit of a summary of like how I do these things. Again, it's not a very like fun topic always to talk about. I've always found it pretty intimidating, to be honest, but without sharing everything, that's kind of like what like I do in a nutshell. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up, and then I will see you in next week's video. Bye!